All right, here we are, keeping our promises. It's nighttime in the warrior cat's world. Do you want the background? Warrior Cats, or Warriors, was a series of novels written under the pseudonym Erin Hunter. The first book was called Into the Wild. It was written about 20 years ago. Um, I've covered a lot of the background and the story in previous posts, so I'm not going to repeat the same things again, lest I become boring. Hopefully this won't screw up my desktop if I do this. All right. Oh, me mic decided to move. Okay, there we go. Is it back? The first series of books is called The Prophecy. The Prophecies Begin, 2003, 2004. The original series consisted of 6 books, and the series was subtitled The Prophecies Begin for its re-release with new covers, which was in 2015, 10 years, just over 10 years after the original release. The series details the experiences of a house cat named Rusty, who ventures out into the forest, into the wild, and is invited to join ThunderClan, one of the 4 groups of its wild cats in the forest. I think there are more groups actually. Throughout the series, because there's the kitty pet group and the rogues and loners. Throughout the series, he rises through the clan hierarchy while attempting to uncover and later stop the treachery of his clanmate and deputy, Tiger Claw, who intends initially to usurp Tiger Clan's leadership and later plans to take over all of the clans. So we're going through the first part of the story, and I'm using Roblox's warrior cats as a kind of background. Oh, look, the sun's rising. Using it as a background to the story. So that's it, really. The Warrior Cats audiobook is available in the public domain on SoundCloud. This is for educational purposes only. It is not monetized for any kind of profit. And we're in part 5. That's it. Let's go.
Chapter 7. Firepaw retraced his steps and headed back toward the stream. He thought of those eyes burning from the darkness of the Shadow Clan territory. Suddenly, he caught a faint smell on the breeze. A stranger, perhaps that Shadow Clan warrior. Instantly, a growl rumbled in Firepaw's throat. The scent message told him many things. The stranger was a she-cat, not young, and definitely not from ThunderClan. She carried no distinct scent from any of the clans, but Firepaw could tell she was tired, hungry, and sick, and she was in an ugly mood. Dropping low, Firepaw moved forward, heading toward the scent. Then he paused in puzzlement. The warrior's scent was fainter now. He sniffed again. Suddenly, with a lightning movement, a snarling ball of fur burst from the bushes behind him. Firepaw screeched in shock as the she-cat slammed into him, knocking him sideways. 2 heavy paws clamped down onto his shoulders, and iron jaws closed around the back of his neck. He grunted, already thinking fast. If the other cat were to sink its fangs too deep, it would all be over. He forced himself to go limp, relaxing his muscles as if in submission, and let out a pretend howl of alarm. The she-cat opened her mouth to give a triumphant yowl. "Ah, a puny apprentice. Easy prey for Yellowfang," she hissed. At the insult, Firepaw felt a surge of fury. Just wait. He'd show this coughed-up furball what kind of warrior he was. But not yet, he told himself. Wait until you feel her teeth again. Yellowfang bit down. Firepaw surged upward with all the strength in his powerful young body. The she-cat gave a snarl of surprise as she was thrown clear. She tumbled backward into a gorse bush. Firepaw shook himself. "Not such easy prey, huh?" Yellowfang hissed defiance as she tore herself free from the clinging branches. "Not bad, young apprentice," she spat back. "But you'll need to do a lot better." Firepaw blinked when he saw his opponent clearly for the first time. The she-cat had a broad, almost flat face and round orange eyes. Her dark gray fur was long and matted into smelly clumps. Her ears were torn and ragged, and her muzzle was traced with the scars of many old battles. Firepaw stood his ground. He puffed out his chest and glared a challenge into the intruder's face. "You're in ThunderClan's hunting ground. Move on!" "Who's going to make me?" Yellowfang drew back her lip defiantly, exposing stained and broken teeth. "I will hunt. Then I will leave. Or maybe I'll just stay a while." "Enough talk," Firepaw spat, feeling the stir of ancient cat spirits deep inside him. There was no trace of the house cat in him now. His warrior blood was up. He was itching to fight, to defend his territory and protect his clan. Yellowfang seemed to sense the change in him. Her fierce orange eyes sparked with new respect. Dipping her head and breaking eye contact, she started to back off. "No need to be hasty now," she purred in a silky tone. Firepaw wasn't fooled by her trickery. Claws extended and fur on end, he leaped forward, his war cry ringing out. "Growl!" With a hiss of rage, the other cat responded, snarling and spitting. Young cat and old locked together. They rolled over and over, teeth and claws flashing. Ears pressed flat to his head, Firepaw fought to get a grip, but the she-cat's clumpy fur snagged in his claws, and he couldn't break through to skin. Then Yellowfang reared up on her back legs. With her filthy tail bristling, she looked even bigger. Firepaw sensed Yellowfang's huge jaws lunging toward him. He leaned backward just in time. Snap! Bared teeth closed on the air next to his ear. Instinctively, Firepaw lashed out with a back swipe. His paw caught the side of Yellowfang's head. The force of it sent shock waves up his front leg. "Yow!" Stunned, Yellowfang dropped onto four paws. She shook her head to clear it. In the single heartbeat before the she-cat recovered, Firepaw saw his chance. He threw himself forward, crouching low, and clamped his jaws tight on Yellowfang's back leg. The taste of the matted fur was horrible, but he chomped down hard. Yellowfang screamed in agony and whipped around to snap at Firepaw's tail. Her teeth connected, and pain lanced up Firepaw's spine. But it only made him angrier. He ripped his tail from his opponent's grip and lashed it back and forth in rage. Yellowfang crouched, ready for a fresh attack. Her breath seemed to wheeze up from her foul-smelling lungs. The scent blasted Firepaw's nose. Up close, the message of desperation and weakness, and the aching void of the she-cat's hunger was almost painful. Something stirred inside him, an unwarrior-like feeling he didn't want. Pity. He tried not to dwell on this instinct. He knew his loyalty must be to his clan, but he couldn't shake free of it. "You speak from your heart, young Firepaw." Lionheart's words echoed in his head once more. "This will make you a stronger warrior one day." Then Tigerclaw's warning rang in his ears. "Or it might make him give in to kitty pet weakness right at the moment of attack." Yellowfang lunged forward, and Firepaw jerked instantly back into aggression. The bigger cat tried to reach up onto his shoulders and get a killing grip, but this time she was hampered by her wounded leg. "Carl!" Firepaw arched his spine, but Yellowfang managed to dig in her claws and hung on tight. The bigger cat's weight forced him to the ground. Firepaw tasted earth on his tongue and spat out a mouthful of grit. "Puh!" He twisted nimbly to avoid Yellowfang's thrashing back legs and the thorn-sharp claws that were trying to rake at his soft underbelly. Over and over they rolled, biting and snapping. Moments later, they broke apart. Firepaw was gasping for breath now, but he sensed that Yellowfang was weakening. The she-cat was badly wounded, and her back legs could barely support her scrawny body. "Had enough yet?" Firepaw growled. If the intruder gave way, he'd let her go with just a warning bite to remember him by. "Never!" Yellowfang hissed back bravely, but her injured leg gave way, and she slumped to the ground. She tried to get up and failed. Her eyes were dull as she hissed up at Firepaw. "If I weren't so hungry and tired, I'd have shredded you into mouse dust." The she-cat's mouth twisted in pain and defiance. "Finish me off. I won't stop you." Firepaw hesitated. He'd never killed another cat before. Perhaps in the heat of battle he would, but a mercy killing in cold blood? This was something very different. "What are you waiting for?" Yellowfang taunted. "You're dithering like a kitty pet." Firepaw smarted at the she-cat's words. Could she smell the scent of two legs on him, even now, after all this time? "I'm an apprentice warrior of ThunderClan," he snapped. Yellowfang narrowed her eyes. She'd seen Firepaw flinch at her words, and she knew she'd hit a nerve. "Ha!" she snorted. "Don't tell me ThunderClan is so desperate they have to recruit kitty pets now." "ThunderClan is not desperate," hissed Firepaw. "Prove it, then. Act like a warrior and finish me off. You'll be doing me a favor." Firepaw stared at her. He would not be goaded into killing this miserable creature. He felt his muscles relax as curiosity pricked him. How had a clan cat gotten in such a state? ThunderClan elders were looked after better than kits. "You seem in an awful hurry to die," he meowed. "Yeah? Well, that's my business, mouse fodder," Yellowfang snapped. "What's your problem, kitty? Are you trying to talk me to death?" Her words were brave, but Firepaw could smell the hunger and sickness that were coming off the other cat in waves. She was going to die anyway if she didn't eat soon, and since she could hardly hunt for herself, perhaps he should kill her now. The two cats looked at each other, uncertainty in both their gazes. "Wait here," Firepaw ordered at last. Yellowfang seemed to deflate. Her hackles smoothed out, and her tail lost its gorsebush stiffness. "Are you kidding, kitty? I'm going nowhere," she grunted, limping painfully toward a patch of soft heather. She flopped down and began licking her leg wound. Firepaw glanced briefly over his shoulder at her and hissed quietly in exasperation before heading for the trees. As he padded silently through the ferns, sun-warmed odors filled his nose, and he caught the sour reek of a long-dead rat. He heard the scratching of insects beneath bark, the rustle of furry things scurrying over leaves. His first thought had been to go and dig up the thrush he had killed earlier, but that would take too long. Maybe he should go and scoop up the rat carcass. Easy meat, but a starving cat needed fresh kill. Only when times were very hard would a warrior eat crow food. Just then he paused, scenting a young rabbit ahead. A few more steps and he saw it. Flattening himself down, he stalked the creature. He was barely a mouse length away before it detected him. By then, it was too late. The white bobtail darting away sent the thrill of the chase surging through Firepaw's veins. A rush of speed, a flash of claws, and he had it. He held the wriggling body fast and finished it off quickly. Yellowfang looked up tiredly as Firepaw dropped the rabbit on the ground beside her. Her grizzled jaw dropped. "Well, hello again, kitty. I thought you'd gone to fetch your little warrior friends." "Yeah? Well, I might still do that. And don't call me Kitty, Firepaw growled, shoving the rabbit nearer with his nose. He felt embarrassed by his kindness. Look, if you don't want this... Ah, no, Yellowfang meowed hastily. I do want it. Firepaw watched the she-cat rip open the prey and start to swallow it down. His own hunger rose up and his mouth filled with water. He knew he shouldn't even be thinking about eating. He still had to take back enough prey for the clan, but the fresh kill smelled delicious. Mm. A few minutes later, Yellowfang gave a huge sigh and flopped onto her side. First fresh kill I've had for days. She licked her muzzle clean and settled down to give herself a thorough wash. As if one wash is going to make much difference, Firepaw thought, his nose twitching. She was the arch-cat of stench. He eyed the tattered remnants of the prey. There wasn't much left to line a growing cat's belly, but his fight with Yellowfang had sharpened his appetite even more. He gave in to his hunger and gulped down the scraps. It was delicious. He licked his lips, savoring every last taste, tingling from head to paw. Yellowfang watched him closely, showing her stained teeth. Better than the muck Two Legs feeds some of our brothers, isn't it? She mewed slyly. Knowing she had found his sore spot, she was trying to antagonize him. Firepaw ignored her and began to wash. It's poison, Yellowfang went on. Rat droppings. Only a spineless bag of fur would accept such disgusting frog spawn. She broke off and tensed. Shh. Warrior's coming. Firepaw was also aware of cats approaching. He could hear their soft paw fall on the leaf litter and the sound of fur swishing through branches. He smelled the wind brushing against their coats. Familiar smells. These were ThunderClan warriors, confident enough in their own territory not to care about the noise they made. Firepaw licked his lips guiltily, hoping to wash away any traces of the scraps he'd just swallowed. Then he looked at Yellowfang and the fresh pile of rabbit bones that lay beside her. The clan must be fed first. Lionheart's voice rang through his head once more. But surely he would understand why Firepaw had fed this wretched creature. His mind reeled, suddenly fearful of what would happen to him. His first apprentice task, and he had ended up breaking the warrior code. Chapter 8. Yellowfang growled in defiance at the approaching paw steps, but Firepaw could sense her panic. The she-cat struggled to her feet. So long. Thanks for the meal. She tried to limp away on 3 legs and then winced in pain. This leg's stiffened up while I've been resting. Now it was too late for her to run. Silent shadows slipped out of the trees, and in a heartbeat the ThunderClan patrol had encircled Firepaw and Yellowfang. Firepaw recognized them. Tigerclaw, Darkstripe, Willowpelt, and Bluestar. All of them lean and hard-muscled. Firepaw smelled Yellowfang's fear at the sight of them. Greypaw followed close behind. He bounded out of the bushes and stood beside the warrior patrol. Firepaw mewed a hasty greeting to his clan, but only Greypaw returned it. Hi, Firepaw, he called out. Silence, Tigerclaw growled. Firepaw glanced at Yellowfang and groaned inwardly. He could still smell the fear scent on her, but instead of cowering in submission, the scruffy creature was glaring in defiance. Firepaw? Bluestar's question was cool and measured. What have we here? An enemy warrior, and recently fed by the smell of you both. Her eyes burned into him, and Firepaw dropped his head. She was weak and hungry, he began. And what about you? Was your hunger so bad that you had to feed yourself before you had gathered prey for your clan? Bluestar went on. I assume that you have a very good reason for breaking the warrior code. Firepaw was not fooled by the leader's soft tone. Bluestar was furious, and rightly so. He crouched lower to the ground. Before he could speak, there was a loud hiss from Tiger Claw. Once a kitty pet, always a kitty pet! Bluestar ignored Tiger Claw and looked instead at Yellowfang. Suddenly, she looked surprised. Well, well, Firepaw. It seems you have captured us a Shadow Clan cat, and one I know well. You are Shadow Clan's medicine cat, aren't you? She meowed to Yellowfang. What are you doing so far into ThunderClan territory? I was the Shadow Clan medicine cat. Now I choose to travel alone, hissed Yellowfang. Firepaw listened, astonished. Had he heard right? Yellowfang was a Shadow Clan warrior? Her filthy condition must have masked her territorial scent. He might have enjoyed tackling her more if he'd known. Yellowfang, Tiger Claw meowed mockingly. It looks like you have fallen on hard times if you can be beaten by an apprentice. Now Darkstripe spoke. This old cat is no use to us. Let's kill her now. As for this kitty pet, he has broken the warrior code by feeding an enemy warrior. He should be punished. Keep your claws in, Darkstripe, Bluestar purred calmly. All the clans speak of Yellowfang's bravery and wisdom. It may help us to hear what she has to say. Come, we'll take her back to camp. Then we'll decide what to do with her and with Firepaw. Can you walk? She asked Yellowfang. Or do you need help? I've still got 3 good legs, the grizzled she-cat snapped back, limping forward. Firepaw saw that Yellowfang's eyes were glazed with pain, but she seemed determined not to show any weakness. He noticed a look of respect flicker across Bluestar's face before the ThunderClan leader turned and slowly led the way through the trees. The other warriors took up positions on either side of Yellowfang, and the patrol moved off, carefully keeping pace with their lame prisoner. Firepaw and Greypaw fell in step together at the back of the group. Have you heard of Yellowfang? Firepaw hissed to Greypaw. A bit. Apparently she was a warrior before she became a medicine cat, which is unusual. I can't imagine her as a loner, though. She has lived her whole life in Shadow Clan. What's a loner? Greypaw glanced at him. A loner is a cat that isn't part of a clan or cared for by 2 legs. Tiger Claw says they are untrustworthy and selfish. They often live around 2-leg dwellings, but belong to no one and catch their own food. I might end up a loner once Bluestar is finished with me, Firepaw mewed. Bluestar is very fair, Greypaw reassured him. She won't throw you out. She certainly seems pleased to have such an important Shadow Clan cat as a prisoner. I'm sure she's not going to make a fuss about your feeding the poor old mange bag. But they keep moaning about prey being scarce. Oh, why did I eat that rabbit? Firepaw felt shame burn through his fur. Well, yeah, Greypaw nudged his friend. That was mouse-brained. You really broke the warrior code there. But no cat is perfect. Firepaw didn't answer, but trekked onward with a heavy heart. This was not the way he had hoped his first solo task would end. As the patrol passed the sentries who guarded the camp entrance, the rest of ThunderClan came running to welcome their warriors home. Queens, kits, and elders crowded on either side. They peered curiously at Yellowfang as she was led into the camp. Some of the elders recognized the old she-cat. Word spread quickly through the clan that this was Shadow Clan's medicine cat, and a steady jeering hum rose up around them. Yellowfang seemed deaf to the taunts. Firepaw couldn't help admiring the way she limped with dignity through the corridor of stares and insults. He knew she was in a great deal of pain, and hungry in spite of the rabbit he had caught for her. When the patrol reached the high rock, Blue Star nodded toward the dusty ground in front of it. Yellow Fang followed the ThunderClan leader's silent command, sinking gratefully onto the earth. Still ignoring the hostile stares around her, she began licking her wounded leg. Firepaw noticed Spotted Leaf emerge from her corner. She must have scented the presence of an injured cat in the camp. He watched the crowd part to let the young tortoiseshell through. Yellowfang glared at Spotted Leaf and hissed, "I know how to take care of my own wounds. I don't need your help." Spotted Leaf said nothing, but nodded respectfully and stepped back. Some of the cats had been out hunting, and fresh kill was brought for the returning warriors to eat. They each took some food and carried it away to the nettle patch to eat it. Then the other clan cats crowded forward to take their own share. Firepaw paced hungrily around the clearing and watched as the cats crouched in their usual groups, chewing and gulping. He longed for a morsel, but didn't dare to take anything from the pile. He had broken the warrior code. He guessed that this meant he was forbidden his share in the fresh kill. He paused beside the high rock where Blue Star was sharing words with Tiger Claw. Uncertain, Firepaw looked to his leader for a signal that he was allowed to eat, but the gray cat and her senior warrior were busy murmuring at one another in low tones. Firepaw wondered if they were talking about him. Desperate to know his fate, he strained his ears to hear what they were saying. Tiger Claw's yowl sounded impatiently. "It's just too dangerous to bring an enemy warrior into the heart of ThunderClan. Now that she knows the camp, even the youngest Shadow Clan kit will hear of it. We will have to move." "Calm down, Tiger Claw," Blue Star purred. "Why should we move? Yellowfang says that she is traveling alone now. There's no reason for Shadow Clan to hear of it." "Do you really believe that? What on earth was that foolish kitty pet thinking of?" Tiger Claw spat. "But think for a moment, Tiger Claw," mewed Blue Star. "Why would the Shadow Clan medicine cat choose to leave her clan? You seem to be afraid that Yellowfang will share our clan secrets with Shadow Clan. But have you thought about how many Shadow Clan secrets she might share with us?" Firepaw could see by the way Tiger Claw's fur began to flatten that Blue Star's words made sense. The warrior nodded briefly, and then stalked off to take his share of the fresh kill. Blue Star remained where she was. She looked out across the clearing, where some of the younger kits were fighting and tumbling playfully in the dust. Then she stood up and began to walk toward Firepaw. His heart lurched. What was she going to say to him? But Blue Star walked straight past him. She did not even glance at him. Her eyes were clouded with unknown distant thoughts. "Frost Fur," she called out as she approached the nursery. A pure white cat with dark blue eyes slipped out of the brambles. Inside, the noise of mewling grew louder. "Hush, kits," purred the white cat reassuringly. "I won't be long." Then she turned to her leader. "Yes, Blue Star? What is it?" "One of our apprentices has seen a fox in the area. Warn the other queens to guard the nursery carefully. And make sure all kits less than 6 moons stay inside the camp until our warriors have driven it away." Frostfur nodded. "I will pass on the warning, Blue Star. Thank you." Then she turned and squeezed back into the nursery to quiet the crying kits. At last, Blue Star strode over to the pile of fresh kill and took her share. A plump wood pigeon had been left for her there. Firepaw looked on longingly as she carried it away to eat with the senior warriors. Finally, his hunger drove him forward. Graypaw was with Ravenpaw, wolfing down a small finch beside the tree stump. He saw Firepaw approach the pile and flicked his head encouragingly. Firepaw bent his neck, ready to take a small wood mouse in his teeth. "Not for you," Tiger Claw growled. striding up behind him and pawing the mouse away. "You didn't bring back any prey. The elders will eat your share. Take it to them." Firepaw looked over to Blue Star. She nodded shortly. "Do as he says." Obediently, Firepaw picked up the mouse and carried it across to Small Ear. The delicious smell of it wafted up Firepaw's nose. He wanted nothing more than to crunch it up with his strong teeth. He could almost feel its life energy flooding his young body. With great self-control, he laid the prey down in front of the gray Tom and then backed away politely. He expected no thanks and was offered none. Now he was glad that he had gobbled up the remains of the rabbit he had caught for Yellowfang. There would be nothing else for him to eat until he went out hunting again tomorrow. Firepaw wandered over to Graypaw. His friend had eaten his fill and lay with Ravenpaw outside the apprentice's den. He was stretched out on his side, rhythmically washing a foreleg. Graypaw saw Firepaw approach and paused in his licking. "Has Blue Star mentioned your punishment yet?" he asked. "Not yet," Firepaw replied gloomily. Graypaw narrowed his eyes sympathetically and said nothing. Blue Star's call sounded across the clearing. "Let all those cats old enough to catch their own prey join together for a meeting of our clan." Most of the warriors had finished eating and, like Graypaw, were busy grooming themselves. They lifted themselves gracefully to their paws and walked over to the high rock, where Blue Star waited to speak. "Come on," mewed Graypaw. He leaped up. Ravenpaw and Firepaw followed him as he scampered over and nudged his way forward into a good position. "I'm sure you have all heard about the prisoner we brought back with us today," Blue Star began. "But there is something else you need to know." She glanced down at the rattled she-cat who lay very still beside the high rock. "Can you hear me from there?" she asked. "I may be old, but I'm not deaf yet," Yellowfang spat in reply. Blue Star ignored the prisoner's hostile tone and continued. "I'm afraid I have some very grave news. Today I traveled with a patrol into Wind Clan territory. The air was filled with the scent of Shadow Clan. Almost every tree had been sprayed by Shadow Clan warriors, and we met no Wind Clan cats even though we journeyed deep into their heartland." Her words were met with silence. Firepaw saw confusion in the faces of the clan cats. "Do you mean Shadow Clan has chased them out?" called Small Ear hesitantly. "We can't be sure," Blue Star meowed. "Certainly the scent of Shadow Clan was everywhere. We found blood, too, and fur. There must have been a battle, though we found no bodies from either clan." A shocked yowl rose from the crowd in a single voice. Firepaw felt the cats around him stiffen with shock and fury. Never before had one clan driven another from its hunting grounds. "How can Wind Clan have been driven out?" One Eye croaked hoarsely. "Shadow Clan is fierce, but Wind Clan is many. They have lived in the uplands for generations. Why have they been chased out now?" She shook her head anxiously, her whiskers trembling. "I don't know the answer to any of your questions," meowed Blue Star. "It is well known that Shadow Clan has recently appointed a new leader, following the death of Ragged Star. Their new leader, Broken Star, gave no hint of any threat when we met him at the last gathering." "Perhaps Yellowfang has answers," snarled Darkstripe. "After all, she is of Shadow Clan." "I am no traitor. Nothing would make me share the secrets of Shadow Clan with a brute like you," growled Yellowfang, glaring aggressively at Darkstripe. The ThunderClan warrior moved forward, ears flat, eyes closed to slits, ready for a fight. "Stop!" yowled Blue Star. Darkstripe immediately halted in his tracks, even though Yellowfang goaded him on with blazing eyes and a ferocious hiss. "That's enough!" Blue Star growled. "This situation is too serious for us to be fighting among ourselves. ThunderClan must prepare itself. From this moonrise onward, warriors will travel in larger groups. Other clan members will remain close to the camp. Patrols will travel the boundary edges more frequently, and all the kits must stay in the nursery. The cats below her nodded in agreement. Bluestar continued. Our need for warriors is our greatest obstacle. We shall get around this by speeding up the training of our apprentices. They need to be ready even sooner to fight for our clan. Firepaw saw Dustpaw and Sandpaw exchange a thrilled glance. Graypaw was gazing up at Bluestar, his eyes wide with excitement. Ravenpaw just shuffled his paws anxiously. The black apprentice's wide eyes showed worry rather than excitement. Bluestar went on. One young cat has been sharing mentors with Graypaw and Ravenpaw. By teaching him, I shall speed up the training of all 3 apprentices. She paused and looked down at her clan. I shall take on Firepaw as my own apprentice. Firepaw opened his eyes wide in amazement. Bluestar was to be his mentor? Beside him, Graypaw gasped, unable to hide his surprise. What an honor! It's been moons since Bluestar had an apprentice. Usually she trains only the kits of deputies. Then a familiar voice rose from the front of the crowd. It was Tigerclaw. So Firepaw is to be rewarded, not punished for feeding an enemy warrior when he should have been feeding his own clan? Firepaw is my apprentice now. I will deal with him, answered Bluestar. She stared into Tigerclaw's fierce eyes for a moment before lifting her head to address the whole clan once more. Yellowfang will be allowed to stay here until she has recovered her strength. We are warriors, not savages. She is to be treated with respect and courtesy. But the clan cannot support Yellowfang, Darkstripe protested. We have too many mouths to feed already. Yeah, Graypaw whispered into Firepaw's ear, and some of them are bigger than others. I don't need anyone to care for me, spat Yellowfang, and I'll split open anyone who tries. Friendly, isn't she? Graypaw murmured. Firepaw flicked the tip of his tail in silent agreement. There were muffled meows from the other warriors as they grudgingly recognized the enemy warrior's fighting spirit. Bluestar ignored the murmuring. We shall kill 2 prey with 1 blow, as it were. Firepaw, as punishment for breaking the warrior code, it will be your responsibility to care for Yellowfang. You will hunt for her and tend her wounds. You will fetch fresh bedding and clear away her dirt. Yes, Bluestar, mewed Firepaw, his head bowed in submission. Clear away her dirt, he thought to himself. Ugh! Mocking yowls came from Dustpaw and Sandpaw. Good idea, hissed Dustpaw. Firepaw had better be good at cracking fleas. And hunting, added Sandpaw. That sack of bones is going to need feeding up. Enough, Bluestar interrupted them. I hope Firepaw will find no shame in caring for Yellowfang. She is a healer, and she is his elder. For those reasons alone, he should respect her. She shot a sharp glance at Sandpaw and Dustpaw. And there is no humiliation in caring for another cat when she is unable to take care of herself. The meeting is over. I would like to speak to my senior warriors alone now. With that, she jumped down from the high rock and marched toward her den. Lionheart followed her. The other clan cats began to move away from the high rock. 1 or 2 congratulated Firepaw on being chosen as Bluestar's apprentice. Others mockingly wished him luck looking after Yellowfang. Firepaw felt so dazed by Bluestar's announcement that he just nodded blankly. Longtail padded up to him. The V-shaped nick that Firepaw had cut into the tip of his ear still showed. The young warrior drew back his whiskers into an ugly snarl. Well, I hope you'll think twice about bringing strays back into the camp next time, he sneered. Like I said, Outsiders always bring trouble. Chapter 9.
Yeah, so we got up to the end of chapter 8. Looks like Firepaw got his hands full. But I guess he's going to learn a lot. Guess he's going to learn a lot. What do you think, Kitty? You think he's going to learn a lot? Guess we all have to learn a lot. Alright, that was part 5. Because the audio was divided into different sections from the chapters. If you want to experience more of Warriors, the novels, or you want to do some roleplay, this is Roblox. Roblox has a really cool roleplay section, and I'll give you a little bit of advice, right? If you hop in and oh, look, it's all dark now. If you hop in and there's not many people in the server, go back to the game information. Go out of the game, click on the little game icon, and then on the left side of the screen there's a whole bunch of options, like tells you about who made the game and other things. Down the bottom it says servers. You click on servers and you can choose which server you want to enter. So you can enter servers with more people if you want. And there's a lot of servers. There was like 60 servers running last time I checked. More. I think there were more than that. It's kind of cool. Alright, we're in the tree cut place, I see. So we'll finish it here. Thank you for tuning in. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Big love to y'all. Stay cool.